Welcome to the trails at the top of Wisconsin.
Hello and welcome to Discover Wisconsin.
This is an anthem for those who look for more and never say they've seen it all. Windows down, let's take a ride. The good land's great tonight.
If there's one thing I've noticed throughout my travels with Discover Wisconsin, it's that when you mention the Northwoods, people's faces light up. I think all of us have that sort of personal connection to some part of the Northwoods in Wisconsin. For me and my family, we spend our summers traveling up to Bayfield, Cable, Hayward. And I think part of what makes this area of Wisconsin so special is that silent sports here are a way of life. And that's because the trails at the top of Wisconsin in both Bayfield and Sawyer counties are some of the best in the entire Midwest.
Probably the biggest reason the area is so known for the trails is the vast amounts of public land. We're right here in the Chequamegon-Nicolet National Forest, and a lot of the bike trails, ski trails in the area are also on Bayfield County and Sawyer County forests.
Mountain biking is like a national sport here, but we've all got to get our start somewhere. And for Joanne and her granddaughter Annie, that somewhere is on the Hospital Trail System in Hayward.
The Hospital Trail System has a wider trail, gentler hills. It's got curves, which are really fun. This is the kind of trail that I, as an older adult now, am looking for. Something that's a little easier, a little safer. I would want to give my grandchildren confidence on a trail like this one that's a mountain biking trail, but family-friendly, child-friendly, and senior-friendly.
At first it's scary to me, and then it feels fun.
5 miles east of the hospital trailhead is the Hatchery Creek Pump Track. Now, my 10-year-old self is beaming here. This is essentially a BMX-inspired playground featuring dirt berms, narrow boards, rocks, jumps, and rollers, all of which you can ride without even really pedaling. Heading north to Bayfield County in about a half hour from Wisconsin's northernmost town, Cornucopia, is Mount Ashwaubenon. It's mostly intermediate riding here at Mount Ashwaubenon, where you'll encounter bike trails with pretty epic names like Diesel Bear, Dirt Lip, and even Hoot and Hollow.
We like to use the expression in the big woods. You do feel like you're lost in the woods, but you're not, because you're on a well-marked trail. I just like being in the woods. It's a feeling of freedom, a feeling of just enjoying nature, experiencing things. You never know what you're going to see.
So this area is just one of my all-time favorite places to be. There are so many different things to do that I love being here. And I hope other people take the chance to come up and experience it as well. This is called Geraghty Cavity, and it's a fun little feature built into the trail system. The first time you ride it, it can be scary. Most people will hesitate, partway into it, and once they get the hang of it and do it a couple of times, then it's just pure fun after that.
I think there's something to be said about breaking away from the pack and going out on your own. I'm a big fan of experiencing things by yourself every once in a while, because I think that it helps you really pay attention to your surroundings, and that's part of why I loved kayaking the Namakagon River. It's part of the St. Croix National Scenic Riverway. It happens to be the cleanest tributary of the Mississippi River, and it was the river that inspired Gaylord Nelson, who was the founder of Earth Day. All right, I'm not gonna lie, this girl likes to eat. So when I'm out and about biking and kayaking all day long, you better believe that I'm gonna find some of the best restaurants to stop in. And the Rivers Eatery was exactly that. Located at the back of a bookshop in downtown Cable, the Rivers is known primarily for 3 things: amazing za, local brews, and bike-inspired everything. Learn about some of the trails and destinations featured in our show so far at discoverwisconsin.com. So long, summer. When we return, we're back in Bayfield and Sawyer counties, but this time it's fall.
Welcome back to Discover Wisconsin, where it's autumn in Bayfield and Sawyer counties. Fall has always been my favorite season. This time of year, when many of the tourists have kind of gone away, it's such a wonderful time to find some solitude. But I think today my revelation was that there's no mosquitoes. So we had lunch today in Cable, and we talked to some of the locals about Juniper Rock Overlook. And they hadn't heard of this place. And this is on the North Country Scenic Trail, which goes all the way from North Dakota to New York and comes right through here, just north of Cable. An absolutely beautiful spot. But first, you've got to get there. It took me about 25 minutes one way. Not bad. So you hike in, leapfrog across some potentially muddy tree stumps, hike some more, take on a log bridge, cross a far less treacherous bridge, climb up some sketchy rocks, and voila! The most magnificent Northwoods panorama awaits you. Today on the North Country Scenic Trail and Juniper Rock Overlook, it was just so peaceful and beautiful and almost overwhelming. The view was really, really spectacular. Juniper Rock Overlook is a spot that tends to fly under people's radar, and so does this next place. In Bayfield County, just south of Cornucopia and about a mile and a half into a 100-year-old forest, is a gem of a spot called Lost Creek Falls. You'll embark on a quiet little hike. It's as secluded as it is tranquil. Before you even catch your first glimpse, you'll hear the sound of rushing water from the trails. And then you see it, the waterfall. It just opens up for you. 15 feet of cascading falls. Whether it's backpacking, waterfalling, or trail running, every one of us feels called to the woods for one reason or another. For people like Christy Mackey, it's the quiet calm of the hospital trails in Hayward that provide a certain kind of haven.
I'm Christy Mackey. I'm a Hayward local and a mother of 3. And I love running the trails in the fall. Trail running makes me feel really calm. I'm a much better mom when I get out and get a workout on the trails. It's a great place to think things out, whether you want to solve the world problem or just figure out what's going to be for dinner tonight. You get to really concentrate on what you're doing and not get distracted by other things that might be happening. It makes you feel really good physically and mentally to be out here.
I've only heard of gravel biking within like the last year or 2. In my mind, it was always either road biking or fat tire single track riding. Gravel biking was really cool because you had the wide trails that are like the size of roads, but not a ton of traffic, very, very little traffic. I started my ride near one of the many American Birkebeiner trailheads near Seeley. I think it's just such a great entry point to kind of off-road cycling because you get the nature feel and a little bit of the rush without necessarily the kind of danger that you might perceive in single track riding. Learn more about today's show at discoverwisconsin.com and read about 10 amazing places to stay in Bayfield and Sawyer counties when you visit our blog at bobber.discoverwisconsin.com. When we return, the leaves have dropped and the snow has fallen. It's winter in the Northwoods.
Welcome back to Bayfield and Sawyer counties, right here on Discover Wisconsin. One of the fastest growing sports up here in Bayfield and Sawyer counties, fat tire biking. And that's because there are around 65 miles of trails to ride in Bayfield County alone. So what's a girl to do? Gear up, of course. I stopped in at Up North Guided Tours in Cable, where Josh hooked me up with a sweet ride and a few pointers.
This is set up like a mountain bike, not like a motorcycle, so your rear brake.
All right, school is out. Time to ride.
Fat tire bikes have been around now for about 8-9 years. They were bikes that were originally designed to be ridden on snow, sand, various soft surfaces where a regular-sized mountain bike tire can't go. I've never seen anybody get on a fat bike and not immediately break out into an ear-to-ear grin. There's something about them that is just plain fun. I've always said that biking in general is the closest thing that a human being can get to flying without actually leaving the ground. That's how I feel about it. And mountain biking is like dancing. You're just dancing through the woods.
If you're up here when there's snow on the ground and you're not on the cross-country ski trails, then people might start looking at you funny. Cross-country skiing is life up here in this corner of Wisconsin. And since I'm a newbie, I asked Hayward local Cindy Swift to turn me into an Olympic skier. The first time I'm trying to go for it, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of felt like a baby giraffe walking for the very first time. Okay, so I won't be heading to Beijing in 2022, but it's all good because the hospital trails are made for beginners like me. Once you kind of get some of the technique down and you learn things like the kick pole and how to kind of glide across the snow, it really does kind of come together. Now, if you're someone who has a little more experience, then you might want to take up the Birkie Trail. It is one of the most prestigious trails in the entire world when it comes to cross-country skiing. Whether you're a classic skier or a skate skier, both are welcome on the Birkie Trail. You're gonna see a fair amount of hills, fair amount of challenges. A lot of those hills have very interesting names, I learned. Another feature that makes the Birkie Trail so unique is there are warming shelters along the entire way. All right, let's head north to northern Bayfield County, to the town of Bayfield. At Mount Ashwa Bay in Bayfield, winter is the name of the game. Here you can hit the trails or the slopes. We spotted first-time skiers, skilled snowboarders, and more than a few giggly snow tubers. Bayfield County is actually the second largest county in the entire state of Wisconsin. That said, there are only about 15,000 people who live here, which means when you come and visit, you get a big part of this county all to yourself. Nowhere does that sense of seclusion feel more real than at this rustic yurt, which is nestled a half mile into the Bayfield County forest. To learn more about cool accommodations like this one and for some behind-the-scenes photos, visit discoverwisconsin.com. When we come back, we are going to take in the Super Bowl of silent sports. It's the American Birkebeiner and Kortelopet next. Welcome back to Discover Wisconsin, where Birkie fever is in the air. I've been to a lot of events here in Wisconsin, but there is nothing like the American Birkebeiner.
49 states represented today, 36 countries, a huge Northwoods, Wisconsin. Welcome to the world for the American Birkebeiner.
The Birkie is the second largest cross-country ski race in the entire world, and definitely the most prestigious cross-country ski race. And it's all right here in Cable and Hayward, Wisconsin.
In 1973, 35 brave souls started on Lake Hayward, meandered through the woods to Telmark Resort and Cable. Now the American Birkebeiner has over 13,500 skiers cross this international bridge into downtown Hayward.
What started as one ski race has grown into a 4-day festival of Nordic events, including the Kortelopet, North America's second largest cross-country ski race. Held the day before the Birkie, the Kortelopet, or Korty, is about half the distance of the Birkie. While the Birkebeiner starts in Cable and ends in Hayward, the Korty spans 29 kilometers, starting near Seeley and finishing in downtown Hayward.
One of the cool things about the Kortelopet, we have our youngest skiers that are 13 years old, all the way up to 81.
I skied the Kortelopet race at the American Birkebeiner. I knew that it would be a big challenge for me personally, but I really wanted to set new limits for myself. You come around the corner and go over the international bridge that they put up over the highway, and you see your teammates and random people that you don't even know that are cheering for you and yelling out your bib number. I would do this again in a heartbeat.
They throw around the term Birkie fever here, and it's something that it's contagious. You catch it. Annie Hart caught Birkie fever when she was just 5 years old. She started with the Birkie and later skied in the Kortelopet. By age 25, Annie was named to the U.S. Olympic cross-country ski team.
You looked up to racers back then. What does it feel like to know there's probably a lot of little kids looking up to you?
I think it's just amazing that they see me as this kind of role model, and not just an athlete, but as like a girl in sport, and just, you know, following that unabashedly. I hope that that's just like a huge inspiration to them, that you can be a 5-year-old at the Birkie and an Olympian 20 years later. My favorite part of skiing is just sort of being alone in the woods, and you hear your skis just sort of gliding across the snow, and it's sparkly, and the trees are sort of whispering with you. But then the Birkie adds a whole nother level to that, because it's you and 10,000 of your best friends. Everyone's going from 00 to Main Street if you're doing the Korty, or from Cable to Main Street if you're doing the Birkie, and that kind of shared experience is, I think, super special.
And I'm just a spectator this year. I'm not even racing, but you can't help but get a little emotional just watching people cross that finish line. And like you said, they're putting their heart and soul into this race.
It's such an accomplishment. And when you're skiing down Main Street, you just feel like a rock star.
And the racers aren't the only rock stars in town. The Birkie and the Korty are pretty phenomenal events in that there are thousands of volunteers who put this together every single year. This is more than a Wisconsin event. There's a culture and a soul here at the American Birkebeiner. You see moms and teenagers and dads and grandmothers and little kids. You see everyone here really invested in this race. There are people who live and breathe this, and you don't really get it until you're here, seeing it and taking it in for yourself. It's special. I don't think there's anything quite like this, not only in the state of Wisconsin, but really in the entire nation.
Discover Wisconsin is the state's leading media brand. Continue the adventure at discoverwisconsin.com and stream episodes on YouTube and Roku TV.